Hello, everybody. I'm Chuck Gibson, and this finally is the newest edition of Tracking Evagoras Papasavvas Racing. And I have Evagoras with me on the phone right now with some really exciting news for this 2026 racing season. Welcome, Evagoras.
Thank you, Chuck, for having me on. It's a pleasure to be back.
Oh, in so many more ways than one, right? But hey, just right off the bat, I was so excited for you, and I know you have great news to share with the listeners. So I'll let you kind of tell us right now. So what's going on, and what's the next thing for you as we are on, on this Monday, April 6th of 2026.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, I'll say the news and kind of the story of how it all happened.
Well, you start with the news, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So this year for 2026, I'll be competing in the Formula Regional Americas Championship with Crosslink Motorsports. So now, I started to put that into perspective of like comparing it to my previous series of USF 2000 and Indy Next. People always ask me, and this is how I do it. So like, because everyone knows F1. So, I kind of compare it to F1. So Indy Next is like F2. Okay. Right? And, IndyCar being the respective F1. And then USF 2000 was always kind of like an F4. So this is like an F3, right? So kind of in between the two, which it's a step down, yes, from Indy Next, but because of that, it's also a lot cheaper as well, which is why we were able to get the funding to do that this year. Now we're still working on deals with the team and with other partners to finalize things and see how far we can take this. But my idea is basically the future plan, in a perfect world, is to do this year, Formula Regional, put down good results, always aim to win that championship, and then next year be back in Indy Next in a full season. So that's kind of the goal. That's what we're looking at. That's what I'm hoping to do. Right. But, the racing world and just the world, life in general is so unpredictable. So, we just got to see how that goes.
Yeah, let me throw something into it because you touched on it real quick, and we don't really want to dwell on it, but just for the listeners and for fans to understand, like you said, it's a slight step down from the Indy Next, but it's a dollars and cents thing that was keeping you out of the Indy Next competition this year. So explain, in your words, tell the listeners and people who might not really totally understand, it's a funding thing. How does that all come together, or even for that matter, fall apart? I mean, what do you mean when you say it's a funding issue, first off? How can you explain that?
Right. Now, it's like, so doing this Formula Regional, it's like a strategic thing, right? It's financially strategic. The reason being is so Indy Next, right? I'm just going to put the price out there. Depending on the team, to do a full season of Indy Next is anywhere between $1.5 and $2 million for just one season, right? Right. Now, to do a full season of Formula Regional, anywhere between $300,000 to $450,000. So it's a lot cheaper. Now, the reason being Indy Next, the reason why, it's so hard to get funding, yes, the races are on Fox and everyone knows it more, and you're right with IndyCar, you get more exposure, but the number's also a lot bigger. A lot of companies, especially now in today's economy with a bunch of stuff going on, a lot of companies don't want to be giving out $1.5, $2 million, right? Right. Because things going on. So it's like, now the thing is, we do this Formula Regional, it's like, because it's a little bit cheaper, these companies can pay a little bit less money, but still get their foot in the game, still get their foot in the door, and then they feel comfortable with the sport, with how the business is going. And then when my plan is next year to move up to Indy Next, they're more comfortable to give me the $1.5 to $2 million, right? That was kind of the idea going behind this. Now we have some deals going on. Well, that sounds. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean by the strategic, financially strategic, right? I was going to say that makes perfect, as you said, financial strategy. That makes perfect financial strategy sense. I mean, it's like a dollar. The sport is a lot. Yeah, I mean, the sport is a lot more about financials than a lot of people think. It's not just getting in the car and driving. right? I mean, it is, but the first step is to get in the car, right? And that's what costs the money.
Right, 100%. And well, and that's why I wanted you to touch on it a little bit, and we don't want to dwell, but I think people need to understand that, you have the skills and the opportunities there, but on the path to Indy NTT and growing through the process, it's a battle for those sponsor dollars, and it's certainly an expensive battle. So, I mean, right now, like you just,
for sure.
A simple comparison right now. So for your Formula Regional America's Championship Series, it's $1 compared to $3 for every little thing. So it's a third the price. But anyway, let's get So hopefully that helped people understand what's been the delay and your patience, Evagoras. Oh my gosh, you're unbelievable.
I mean, the last time I raced was the Mid Ohio weekend in Indy next, and that was the July 4th weekend. Since then, I've been sitting at home.
Chomping at the bit.
Yeah, exactly.
No doubt. Well, I know you're very competitive, and I know, you know what, you just said since then you've been sitting at home. And we know, so quickly, let's get that straight. You have not been sitting at home. You just haven't been sitting in the driver's seat on a racetrack, but you've been doing every other racing thing. Tell the people a little bit over those months since July 5th, what are the things you've been doing to stay ready and to stay sharp and to keep your skills and to ready to get behind that wheel and go?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, just because I was done racing for the season last year didn't mean I didn't go to any of the races. I still went to all of the Indy Next races and IndyCar races after that.
Right.
To just stay there, stay present. Once again, I was also a reserve driver for that year. So, you never know what can happen. Nothing happened that year, so I never got that opportunity as a reserve driver to get an extra race in. But it's still, I was still there just in case. And at all the races, just being with the team, being with the people, just staying involved, right?
Right.
Doing media where I can here and there.
Well, your followers.
That's that.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But all good. So that's what I was doing, really. But then after that racing season ended, and it truly ended, then I'm still doing my reaction training with Airs Elite, still going to the gym, still have my program, still being on the sim, whatever car track it is, just driving as much as I can, right? And even going go-karting with my friends every once in a while. So yeah, just kind of doing whatever, and
right.
Yeah.
Well, that makes perfect sense, and again, that leads us to right now. And as you said, you're going to compete in the 2026 Formula Regional Americas Championship Series with the Crosslink Motorsports. And I saw something. So the team owner is, help me if I get it wrong, Gil Kazuba, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know if I was going to say it right. But, and then there's some, this aligns you with, as you said, your plan going forward is obviously, the path on the IndyCar series. Are they somehow connected with the AJ Foyt Racing as a driver development team? What can you tell us about that part of it for you?
Yes. So they are connected. They just recently signed a deal to be connected with AJ Foyt. Mm-hmm. So then that right there, is a foot in the door once again from Crosslink Motorsports and Formula Regional to IndyCar. I mean, AJ Foyt has the Indy Next team this year as well. So it's and along with their IndyCar team. So it's once again a direct lineup from the same team to go into IndyCar.
Outstanding. We can hear. I know the listeners can. I certainly can. The excitement level in your voice, Evagoras, is just so good to hear. Once again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited, and actually, as we're talking right now, I'm packing up, getting ready for the weekend because I leave tomorrow.
Right,
because we drive. We were driving down to New Orleans. It's about an 11-hour drive. So.
Right, listen, I've made that drive many times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you. Take it easy, enjoy the ride there, But and again, that brings us to the next point. So exactly what is next is you will be racing this weekend. And again, for the listeners, we're recording this on Monday evening, April the 6th, with Evagoras on the phone with me here for this Evagoras tracking Evagoras Papasavvas Racing. So you're leaving in the morning on Tuesday morning, and you're driving 11 hours to New Orleans, and then to do what? What's going to happen in New Orleans?
Yeah, so Wednesday, go through the weekend schedule. Wednesday, we have a track walk on Wednesday. So, I'm going to be able to walk the track and see, get the lay of the land. And now I've been to NOLA. I've been to New Orleans before in USF 2000, and I've done well there. So I'm confident with this track, but some of the things are a little bit different. They run a slightly different layout, which only changes a fraction of the track. And some rules are different. Considering like track limits where the car cannot pass a certain point on the track, like use too much runoff area at the end of the track, so they have to stay between the lines basically. But it doesn't the way that I said it, kind of makes it seem more boring and more confined, but honestly it's just to keep things fair and to keep people from doing too many things. Now, some series do it, some people don't. Since this is a Formula Regional and it's more under the rules of, series like F1, we use track limits because F1 uses track limits.
Right.
But IndyCar doesn't really do track limits much. So then when I was like in USF 2000 Indy next, we kind of free reign to go wherever we want on the track. But anyway, so then after the track walk, on Thursday, it's a full day of testing. So it's just like USF 2000, where we have the full day of testing before. And then on Friday, we have 2 official practice sessions and the qualifying session for the weekend. So that's going to be later in the day on Friday. And then Saturday, we got 2 races, and Sunday we have 1 more. So a total of 3 races that weekend. A lot of track time, a lot of seat time, and a lot of opportunities to be successful.
Outstanding. Well, and as you said, you've been on the NOLA Motorsports Park track before, and I recall you had great success there. So you've got to be looking forward to being on even though there's going to be some differences, it's going to be a familiar motorsports racetrack for you, and you've got to be really thrilled about that. How would you say, Evagoras, let me ask you this, compared to the Indy last season, and for that matter, even the USF seasons that you've had, the USF 2000 seasons in the past before that, how does this car and the layouts, how does the racing, how's it the same, how's it different, how would you compare it?
So I've only driven this car once, and the Formula Regional car, and that was when I went to Texas for the IndyCar race in Arlington. Right. Now, Crosslink is also based in Texas, so I got an opportunity to drive the car for a 1-day test there.
Nice.
at their test track that they have, and honestly, it felt pretty good. But we never ran a new set of tires, and the track itself, I've never been to this track. It was a much smaller course, just about 1 minute lap times, so a much smaller course. Okay. Which the team was saying, a lot of other drivers say the track's too small for the car, because this is almost like a kind of like in between the USF Pro and the Indy Next car. It has more horsepower, more weight, and more downforce than the Indy Pro car, I believe. Right. So it's kind of like a middle ground between the two, and so that's basically what you can kind of compare it to. The car has about 300 horsepower, which the USF 2000 had 175, and the Pro had about 275. Wow. 250. So it's a big change, but somewhat a good change. But
well, with that horsepower change,
it was a pretty solid car. Yeah. So
well, I was going to say with that horsepower, I think you just touched on the answer to that. I was going to say with that increased horsepower, I'm guessing the car's a little bit, like you said, a little bit more, a little bit stronger car, a little bit heavier car, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense, because 300 horsepower on that Indy NXT car. Woo,
Yeah, I mean, the Indy NXT car had about like 500 horsepower. Yeah. So the NXT car was really fast, fastest car I've driven.
Yeah. What kind of speeds will you expect to see in the FR car?
So in the FR car, I believe these cars can get anywhere from 160, like around 160, 165. I think that's kind of where this car is going to get to.
Okay.
When we go to Road America, which is the second event of the season with the big long straights, which is where we hit our top speed in the USF 2000. That's where we'll probably get our top speed in the Formula Regional.
All right. Well, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time this evening, and I am looking forward to talking with you when you finish up this race weekend. Evagoras, what's the best way for us, your fans, your listeners, and myself even? I'm not going to be in New Orleans with you. What's the best way for us to follow your progress over this weekend and following the race results? What do you know about that?
Yeah, so just like USF 2000, the races are going to be live streamed and broadcasted on YouTube.
Okay.
And in order to watch them, you just have to subscribe and go to the Formula Regional America's YouTube channel, and that's where all the races are going to be live streamed. Now, I believe they do not live stream qualifying. USF 2000 does, but they do live stream all three races.
Perfect. Okay, and then the races for you are going to be Saturday and Sunday, right?
Yes, 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, a total of 3.
Okay, say 3, and we won't get into that. But what's up next after NOLA is going to be Road America. After that, but we are going to talk to you. You tell me what's the best thing. You're going to race Saturday and Sunday. I'll follow up with you next week after you text, or I'll text you and find out when it's good to catch up. So the listeners can look forward to another edition of Tracking Evagoras Papasavvas Racing right here on Loveland Beacon. And Evagoras, we wish you the absolute best this weekend. Congratulations on getting back behind the wheel, and congratulations with your connection with the Crosslink Motorsports and the Formula Regional America's Championship Series.
Thank you, Chuck.
Yeah, anything you want to add?
Much appreciated, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm very excited.
Outstanding. Anything you want to add before we say goodbye to the listeners as time, Evagoras?
Just be sure to follow me on all of my socials. Let's see, on Instagram, Facebook, and then I believe I'm also on Twitter, and the handles should all be the same, just Evagoras71.
Right. And that's on Facebook?
That reminded me, one thing to mention is that this year, because I said Evagoras71, this year I did get the opportunity to choose my number, so I will be racing with the number 71, which I have not raced with since I was in go-karting. So it's really cool to have that number back. Oh,
very fun, very fun. Again, so all right, Facebook, X, and Instagram, look for Evagoras71. Some of you have already been following him. You know how to find him on Facebook. And we'll look forward to seeing results there. But also, go to YouTube and I'm going to blow it here. Formula Regional Americas on YouTube, and you can connect there and watch the races. Hopefully they record them, not just live stream, and you can catch them even if you don't catch them at the right times. But,
I think you should be able to as well. They're also recorded, so because as a part of my preparation for this event, I was watching some of the races from last year.
Yeah.
So you can watch them no matter the time.
Outstanding. Well, once again, Evagoras, thank you so much for taking the time. And listen, safe travels to New Orleans. And what's the right good luck on the race course? I know for the actors we say break a leg. It's like, hey, put the pedal to the metal and make those left turns, baby.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. We'll look forward to talking to you next week, Evagoras. Listeners, thank you for joining us. And again, we'll be back with the next edition of Tracking Evagoras Papasavvas Racing one day next week after he has completed this first racing weekend with the Formula Regional Americans Championship at NOLA. So for now, I'm Chuck Gibson, and this was Tracking Evagoras Papasavvas Racing.